So I think it's one of two things. The oven temperature sensor, which is this right here. Mercy, mercy, mercy. So that's what they were smelling. Let's go ahead, pull it out, check it out, see if we can get her fixed.
When I plug the stove in, the oven, it says cool, and then after, maybe 20-30 seconds, it'll flash F1. I looked in the manual and it said when it does that, reprogram it, but it locks up and just stays on F1. Once it starts flashing, which you'll see in a second, if I push and hold this top arrow, it'll stop the flashing and the beeping, but you can't do anything else. It's not doing it this time. Also, if I hold that in, sometimes it'll stop. But we were using the broiler a few days ago and we noticed a fine, thin smoke coming up and an electrical smell.
Do the burners work on the top?
Yes.
But you can't do anything with the stove.
Right. It's frozen on this. Yeah. So
I think it's one of two things. Let's go ahead, pull it out, check it out, see if we can get her fixed. First thing I'm going to do is unplug it. Because they said there was a burning smell when the oven stopped working and the F1 code came up, that makes me think the control panel might be burned out. Let's go ahead and check that first. There's a little tab on the top here. You just press that down and we can pull that out. Just like that. Now there's 4 1/4-inch screws that hold this in. And that releases that. That's your clock and the controls for the oven. Now there's little clips that hold this board in place. So I need to release these and pull the board up. You want to get it up from this side. You can see there's wires that connect this board to the front of the panel. And of course I don't want to break anything. Just take your time. Aha! Yeehaw! Oh my! Look at that! All burned. Mercy, mercy, mercy. So that's what they were smelling. So we need to get this new part. I'm going to go online and look, or call around, maybe call Sears, Kenmore, and see if I can find this part 316222810E. It may also be possible just to replace this. I'll check for this online, and I'll check for this. Now, if you didn't smell any electrical burning, the other thing that can throw an F1 code is the oven temperature sensor, which is this right here. And it just plugs in to this wire right behind this box. The way you test that is unplug that, which I have, just snaps together, and you take an ohm meter, multimeter, and we're going to set it to ohms, which is that horseshoe there, and we're going to set it to 2,000 ohms, because a good temperature sensor should read at room temperature, when it's cool, 1,080 ohms of resistance. There's 2 probes in there. We'll touch one probe to one pin and the other probe to the other pin. There we go. I'm not holding it real steady, but you can see this temperature sensor's good. We're at 1086, 1087. Now let's go ahead and check out the main board. Now obviously, this board's burned pretty bad. This power relay is what burned, and it melted the plastic on the board, and this copper strip got separated there by about 1/8 of an inch, and then it burned the board over here. What I'm thinking of doing is cleaning this up, see what it looks like, and possibly just changing this relay. If I can do that, it'll cost me about $8. If not, I need to order basically the guts of this and then switch it out and continue to use this faceplate. If you can't salvage any of it, you can order this complete, and doing that, you're looking at $80 to $100 to do that, and up from there. That's about the best price I found for that. So I'm going to try to clean this up first with some alcohol and a toothbrush. I'm just going to wet the toothbrush and first of all clean this. Now this may or may not work, but it doesn't cost a lot, so I thought I'd give it a try. And I've seen these relays burn up like this. It's pretty typical. But if your relay's fine and you've got a bad capacitor, and these sometimes will pop open or they'll swell at the top, you can change those out the same way. Let's order the part. When it comes in, we'll install it and see how it does. And here's the information on that power relay. If you want to order that, if you have the same unit, much better. Okay, we got the board all cleaned up. The fire damage cleaned up best we could. This board here looks fine to me, little charred, but fine. This one had a little damage to the board and the trace. I'm going to try to make a repair on the trace, take out the old relay, and put a new one in. Now I'm a real rookie when it comes to fixing boards and soldering. I've done very little of it. If you want to learn to solder, my recommendation is go online and look at what some of the experts are doing. I'm going to try to struggle my way through this and make this work. When you get a new soldering iron, the first thing you want to do is tin the tip. So I'll take this iron and I've got a wet sponge here, and we'll just tin the tip, put a little solder on it, and clean it off. And I'll solder it again. This just makes for smoother soldering. The next thing I want to do is remove the relay. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins to that relay. So what I'm going to do is take a little flux and hit each pin. That helps the solder melt easier. And I'm going to grab the relay from underneath, and I'm just going to hit each pin and melt that solder. If you want to learn soldering, I'm not the person to learn from. I'm just trying to get this fixed. And there we go. Now first I want to clean up the board a little bit. Just going to take some rubbing alcohol. It's just the flux on there. Oh yeah, she slid right in there. Got my pinholes all cleaned up there. Now I've got to fix this trace guide there, the pin's there, I barely see it probably. If you've got a trace that's damaged, you can just run a small copper wire from that connection over to this connection. I'm just going to try to splice into this, and maybe the solder would do that, but I just want to splice in about like that so I can get a good connection there. I need to address this. I want to tin the wire first. There we go. Make sure I have enough flux on there. And I'm going to go ahead and tin this also. All right. I'm just going to take this and nip it. It's not pretty, but hopefully we got it. Okay. Snap our board back together. It just snaps in. There's little snaps here. Just taking it down gradually. There we go. There we go. You can see it just clipped over it. See that? And that one. Now we can do the other side. Good. And good. We've got our relay soldered back in. We've got it all put back together. Let's take it back to the range, install it, and see if that took care of our problem. All right, here we are back at the job. And we'll just slide our control board back in. And our 4 1/4-inch hex nut screws. And we can hook the connector back up to the board. Good. And before I replace the back panel, let's plug it in and test it out. All right, well that's a good sign. At least it doesn't say cool and F1. We'll try to bake. I heard the gas kick on. Oh yeah, nice and warm. Yeehaw! And we'll throw the back panel back on. And that's how easy it is to fix a gas range where the oven stops working and you get an F1 code. If this video was a help to you, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I look forward to helping you with other projects online.